Howdy. Thank you all for being here. It's great to see you. My name is Mark Welsh, and I am absolutely privileged to serve as the Dean of the Bush School of Government and Public Service here at Texas A&M. And before we start anything tonight, I'd ask that everybody just join me in a short moment of silence and offer your thoughts any way you choose to support Mrs. Bush and the rest of the family as she struggles a little bit with her health right now. Thanks, folks. It really is a pleasure to be here tonight because tonight we get to talk about how we make people better, how you strengthen them, how you get them ready for life, how you make them more successful in life, which is a topic that all of you either have engaged in or want to engage in at some point in the future. And some of you are hoping somebody will engage with you on that topic and help you move forward and successfully for the rest of your careers. And we've got a great speaker tonight who is going to do a wonderful job of that, and I'll let Dr. Will Brown introduce her in just a moment. But in the meantime, let me introduce you to a couple of people who are in the audience. And first, anytime you can have the 17th Secretary of Defense of the United States of America and the 46th Vice President of the United States of America in the House, you're honored. Vice President Dick Cheney is in the front row. We also have some local government officials. Ms. Irma Cawley, who's the Brazos County Commissioner, is here this evening. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. I didn't see Mayor Mooney sneak in here, did he? He's on his way, so he may wander in the back, and we'll avoid identifying him when he comes in at that point. We also have some wonderful sponsors for this event. We can't do anything without partnerships here at the Bush School or at Texas A&M. Mr. John Anderson and his wife Ann are with us. John, thank you very much for being here. John is a local financial advisor for Bank of America and Merrill Lynch. Bank of America, of course, is our sponsor this evening. Also with us is Jeremy Silvas, who's a market executive from Merrill Lynch's the Woodlands branch. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining us. One of the really wonderful things about being here at the Bush Center, for those of you who don't know, the Bush Center is composed of the Presidential Library, the foundation that supports that library, and the Bush School. The Bush School is the only part of the center which is part of Texas A&M, although the rest feel like they are. And the other two, of course, are private organizations, but that doesn't mean we're separated because we do just about everything together. A couple of people tonight who represent that group. First of all, Ms. Lynn Schlemeyer, who works for the Texas A&M Foundation, but is also a member of our Bush School Advisory Board, is here along with her husband, Mike Cookson. Lynn, thank you for joining us. Mr. Royce Hickman, who is a longtime leader of the community here in Bryan College Station and a member of our Bush School Development Council, is here with us this evening as well. Royce, thanks for coming. Right next to Royce is Teddy Ellison, another member of our Development Council, another great community leader. Teddy, thank you for being here. When I first got here as this dumb military guy who really knew nothing about anything related to education or Texas A&M or the community, two people in particular took me under their wing, answered my idiotic questions, kept me moving in the right direction. The first was the CEO of the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library Foundation, kind of the godfather of the Bush Center, Mr. David Jones, who's sitting right here in the front row. And the other is the enforcer of the center, the director of the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library and Museum, Mr. Warren Finch. Finally, and I'll say most importantly, because I believe this is true, there are some people here representing Girls Inc., a group who are touring Texas A&M tomorrow, a group that kind of gives us all hope for the future, and the people who are supporting with everybody here from Girls Inc., please stand up. I'd also like to introduce to you Dr. Lori Taylor, who's sitting right here in the front row. Lori is the director of the Mosbacher Institute at the Bush School, one of our co-producers of the evening event. And the other person is Dr. Will Brown, who runs our new Center for Nonprofit and Philanthropy. Dr. Brown's kind of the honcho this evening's event. He's also a phenomenal scholar and a great, great, great role model to our students, our faculty, and our staff, and to me. Will, the podium's yours.
Well, thank you, Dean Welch. It's an honor to be able to talk to you, give an introduction here, and talk just a few minutes to be able to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. So this is an opportunity to be able to announce the establishment of the Center for Nonprofits and Philanthropy at the Bush School, Texas A&M. That was recognized by the Texas A&M System Board of Regents at the October meeting of last year. And so it's a new entity, but as many of you know, we've been doing a lot of good work in the area of nonprofits and nonprofit management for a number of years. But the center really allows us to be able to take our work in a new direction and be able to extend and connect with a number of folks. Just to give you an example, so we just got out of a great advisory board meeting where we had a number of individuals who were here to help provide some guidance and leadership for this. Of course, Neil is one of our advisory board members, and Neil Bush, and he was not able to come up with us, and extends his regards and his regrets for not being here, and appreciates all of your thoughts and prayers for Barbara. And then another advisory board member who had to leave and is not here right now, but Wynn Rosser, who's the executive director of the T.L. Temple Foundation in Lufkin, Texas. That comes up here and again in a minute. Two advisory board members are here. I'll ask you both to stand up. Robert Ashcraft is from Arizona State University. Appreciate Robert coming over and joining us. And Liz Darling is here from the One Star Foundation, which is a statewide support for volunteerism. So the center builds on these founding principles of the school to prepare public servants from the beginning of the school's founding. You know that public service was a part of what we thought about, and it played itself out in all different kinds of places. Nonprofit organizations, public entities, private entities. It's one of the reasons we have a Master's in Public Service Administration degree. That was an early on choice that was really ahead of its time. And nowadays in the field, there's programs all over looking at being able to be schools of public service to try and be really following the model that we put in place. The mission of the center is to support a vibrant nonprofit and philanthropic sector in Texas, and we're going to do this through high-quality research, professional outreach, and engaged learning opportunities for our students. You know, and this really does harken back to the namesake, George H.W. Bush, who said, and of course you're familiar with this quote, but I can't help myself, "For we're a nation of community, of thousands and tens of thousands of ethnic, religious, social, business, labor union, neighborhood, regional, and other organizations, all of them varied, voluntary, and unique. This is America, the Knights of Columbus, the Grange, Hadassah, Disabled American Veterans, the Orders of AHEPA, the Business and Professional Women of America, the Union Hall, the Bible Study, LULAC, and so many more. A brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky." And it's those ideas of those 1,000 points of light that we are about and trying to be able to help. The center will support these remarkable organizations in so many ways. A vibrant nonprofit and philanthropic sector builds a diverse and healthy community that's vital to our society. Nonprofit organizations allow people to be able to join together and combine resources to achieve goals. These organizations exist to create social wealth, not material wealth. We recognize that the sector is separate from the government and exists to make a difference in society, not to make a financial profit. If we're successful, we can promote civic engagement throughout Texas and beyond, and be able to allow the sector to continue to fill its instrumental role in strengthening communities and helping us have a vibrant and healthy, thriving democracy. More than 100,000 nonprofit organizations in Texas alone. The sector remains vibrant and diverse. Its growth is continued even through hard times. However, there are concerns. There's large disparities between the very large organizations and what many of us know and experience on a day-to-day basis, those small organizations that struggle and do work. And in many ways, those organizations meet similar kinds of capacity challenges year over year. And they're under-resourced and struggle. We believe through the Center of high-quality research, outreach to professionals, through coaching and engaging our students in learning, we can strengthen this incredible fabric of organizations that are fundamental to a healthy life. From birth through death, in it all, nonprofits are a part of our lives. Some of the most important aspects of family, faith, and community are supported by nonprofit organizations. I'll tell just one story to sort of illustrate some of how our work might shift as we begin to move forward. A number of years ago, I got a call from a woman from Lufkin, Texas. As you may know, 2.5 hours east of here, small community, deep East Texas. And like so many of the calls we get a number of these calls on any given day. Dr. Kenny Taylor, who's a part of our crew now, is helping us field some of these calls. She and a group of women in Lufkin had a vision. They had a belief that they could establish a women's education center, right? Just like what President Bush talked about. Voluntary action for good. She talked with us about her ideas, and I suggested a couple of things. Right? There's not much what can I do? She's in Lufkin, Texas, and there's a number of, I talked about a few resources and things, and she said, well, there's got to be some way for me to be able to connect and see some of these resources. So she came over to a nonprofit management forum and looked for ways to be able to engage in a day-long workshop. She even came to one of our programs called the Emerging Leaders, right? And came and spent 2.5, 3 days with us to be able to learn more about what some of these programs look like. Well, and as like a lot of these programs do, they start to see success. I was talking a little bit with Donna and about what this looked like, and it was really just networking and talking to people and beginning to establish. And they're beginning to they were transforming lives of young women in Lufkin who'd fallen on hard times. First, they offered a few classes, began to offer those out of some community center, and then all of a sudden, and then they get a house of their own. Continue to be able to put in place some of the infrastructure, and are busier than ever, providing these classes and changing the lives of people. Well, and of course she wasn't done with that. That's not enough, right? She started looking around what's going on in Lufkin, Texas, and she said, you know what? They need some of that stuff that was going on at the Bush School that I went to. And we need to get some of those professors from the Bush School out to Lufkin, Texas. Well, by the way, I hadn't been there before. If you've been out there, it's a little bit of ways away. Sure enough, last fall, guess what we did? We packed up 4 of our faculty members, and out we went. And we provided some trainings and some programs for over 100 folks from about 60 different organizations in the Lufkin, Texas area. Right? Still not done, right? She connects us up with Angelina College, and we're working on a partnership to be able to help them establish and set up a center for nonprofits and nonprofit leadership in Lufkin, Texas, to continue to be able to serve nonprofit organizations in the Lufkin, Texas area. And we want to try and be there with them and be a partner with them to be able to help them strengthen that community. So Donna Bustler is here tonight, so if you wouldn't mind, just to recognize all the wonderful work that she's doing. One last thought, and this one's always touched my heart, so silly, right? But it's from Fred Rogers, good old Mr. Rogers. You probably are familiar with this one as well, but I couldn't help myself. I kind of went back and forth, should I tell the story about, right? And he tells the story about when he was a kid, saw the crisis and things going on TV, and his mom said to him, look for the helpers. Look for the people who are caring. And he said, I kept that with me all my life. And the idea that there are caring, compassionate people helping in our community kept him, given him great comfort over time. And part of what our center, part of what our school does is to try and help those people who care and make a difference and are working in our community every day. And it's those helpers that we are trying to help and be able to be more effective, use our management phrases that we try to use to be all this, but it's so much about community and about that connectedness. I'm honored to be a part of a great school and a great group of faculty members that are doing some of this work with us. There's a number of individuals that are working hard to be able to try and pull this together, and I'm pleased to be able to help lead some of this up for a time being at this point. And I'm also honored to be able to introduce our speaker tonight, who's clearly working with a group that's doing a lot of help, doing a tremendous amount of good. And those are the kinds of helpers that are doing really good work. Judy Vredenburgh is the president and CEO of Girls, Inc. Judy has a long history of helping others and building organizations and systems that facilitate the engagement of so many more to engage and give back to their community. Girls, Inc. inspires all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. They deliver life-changing programs and experiences through a network of 81 local organizations and help girls navigate gender, economic, and social barriers. Judy began her career in the retail industry, rising to CEO as Chess King, $275 million corporation, a division of Melville Corporation. Throughout her corporate career, Judy created opportunities for the advancements of female executives and mentored women in business, both professionally and as a volunteer. Her commitment to advancing the social good led Judy to the nonprofit sector as Senior Vice President in Revenue Development for the March of Dimes, and then President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, where she got a chance to work with our own Dr. Kenny Taylor. Judy's innovative leadership has garnered both broad recognition, and she served on President Obama's Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnership Advisory Council, was a member of the University of Pennsylvania Board of Overseers, on the Board of Directors of the Independent Sector, and was honored as one of Nonprofit Times' most powerful, influential, top 50 leaders in the field. Before we hear from Judy, I guess we're going to be able to play the video, is that right? Cindy, we got a short little video that profiles some of the work of Girls Inc., and then we'll invite Judy up to the stage. Thank you.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
There for me, every day. Believing in me.
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
to finish school,
To own my future.
To break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner. With you in my corner,
I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Hello, Aggies. This is my first time here, and it's beautiful, and it feels so warm and welcoming. I had a chance to meet with some of the young students more sophisticated students. These were graduate students, all with tremendous passion for mission work. It was a pleasure to meet you a little bit before, and it's absolutely an honor to share with you my passion for youth mentoring. Thank you for this great opportunity. I ask you to please join me in thinking back to your own childhood. Who were those mentors, those people in your lives who believed in you, who were not your parents, other than your parents, who opened a world of possibilities, expanded your horizons? Growing up, who inspired you to be your best, to dream and think big? We know that mentoring matters, both in terms of our own experiences, but there's also strong research proving that quality mentoring makes a measurable and lasting difference for young people. A mentor offers the support young people need to be resilient, to stay on track in school, avoid risky behaviors, graduate college, and succeed in the workplace. A bit of context. 9 million youth in the U.S. are at risk of not graduating from high school. Please think about what that means for their futures. Mentoring at its core guarantees a young person that he or she truly matters, is understood, and lets them know that they are not alone in dealing with their daily challenges. Quality mentoring relationships have powerful positive effects on young people in their personal, academic, and their future professional lives. Unfortunately, 1 in 3 of our youth is growing up without a mentor. Mentoring takes place between a young person and someone more experienced and provides a relationship-based support that benefits the mentee's development. There are different types of mentoring: one-on-one mentoring, group mentoring, and near-peer mentoring. But in every case, to have quality mentoring means that the relationship must be reciprocal, must be open-ended, non-judgmental, not prescriptive, built on trust. And we know that key factors are the quality of the relationship and the length of the relationship. We call it in our sector the duration of the mentoring relationship. It's not about race or age or even interests to make a highly effective match. And let me tell you a story about Ed. Ed is somebody perhaps some of you know, because he not only was a tremendously successful philanthropic leader at Big Brothers Big Sisters of New York City and at the national level, but also at the Points of Light Foundation. But he started out thinking he wanted to be a big brother. He volunteered and got matched in New York City to a little brother. But as a hard-driving businessman, he thought that he was going to come in and change that young boy's life. And in fact, that relationship fell apart. It never even started. It really fell apart, and he had to stop being a big brother. It was very clear that was not going to work. But he found another outlet for his volunteer service and became a governor, and over time, one of the most generous, big-hearted, and engaged philanthropists that our country has ever seen. So there are very many different ways that you can volunteer, but definitely being a volunteer mentor means that you're going to have a non-prescriptive, but really truly a relationship, a reciprocal relationship. Mentoring can target really high-risk populations. We've seen, for example, mentoring's focused on youth in the foster care system. But I'm especially pleased to talk about mentoring children of prisoners, a program that was developed under President George W. Bush's leadership. And thanks to him, that program was developed, and I so appreciate that he genuinely cared about and believed in the potential of every youth, investing in education reform and in mentoring programs. And we at Big Brothers Big Sisters had a chance to pilot the mentoring of children of incarcerated parents, which can break that cycle of poverty and incarceration, and it does. I'll personally never forget my times in the Oval Office with President Bush and also with President Clinton as they congratulated and encouraged the little brother and the little sister of the year. In other words, mentoring is a nonpartisan youth development strategy, a protective asset-building strategy implemented through cross-sector partnerships. For example, Congress can appropriate and does appropriate a small amount of funding through the Department of Justice, through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention for mentoring. Nonprofits implement those programs, and we do that through corporate partnerships or other organizations, churches, who provide the volunteer mentors. You have all three sectors coming together to change children's lives. We know that mentoring has a positive impact on school performance and the educational achievement gap. It is the single most important factor in preventing risky behaviors in youth. And mentoring also promotes pro-social attitudes and relationships. Here are a few facts from the landmark Big Brothers Big Sisters evaluation study. It was the gold standard of social science research. The bigs and littles were subjected to experimental random design study conducted by public-private ventures, and they were compared to, the littles were compared to children in similar youth not matched with a big brother, big sister. And we found that students with mentors are 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school. Students at risk of not attending college but who have a mentor are 55% more likely to be enrolled in college than those who did not have a mentor. Youth with mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using illegal drugs. And mentored youth tend to trust their parents more and communicate better with them. Yes, this is me with Cherise Holloman. I became a big sister to Cherise in 2000. At the time, I was a 20-something woman, and I still am a white Jewish woman from an upper middle-class income background. And Cherise herself was a naturally intelligent 12-year-old when we met, who started doing very poorly in school. She was surrounded by very low expectations, limiting messages, and very, very few resources, both at home and in school. Understandably, Cherise did not immediately trust me. The differences were wide. At an important turning point in our relationship happened about 3 months into it. We were dining together one evening at a local simple restaurant, and Cherise started talking and sharing with me that she had a fist fight with her best friend the day before. She was very, very upset, and she had mentioned this to no one. In fact, you don't go home and tell your mom you just beat up your best friend. But I became that trusting person that she could let it all out to. And she told me how bad she felt, that she felt she could actually maybe have done seriously injured her friend. That's how uncontrolled her anger was. That evening, I was there to hear her, for her to confide in, and I hope to find solace. From then on, Cherise started talking a lot. Before that, she was hardly talking with me, but then I saw that she promised me that night that she felt so badly that she would never engage in violent behavior, and in fact, she did not. And while drugs, alcohol, and tobacco were all around her, including her siblings, she stayed away from substance abuse and other negative behaviors. Cherise did not become a teenage mom like one of her good friends did at the age of 14. Instead, she graduated from high school and went on to complete a nursing program. Cherise and I forged a 10-year mentoring relationship which enriched both of our lives. Yes, I became a safe harbor for her in supporting her, encouraging her as she faced innumerable challenges. In turn, I gained from Cherise the sheer joy of seeing her blossom into a remarkable young woman. And I also came to appreciate African American and African art and photography in a way I never would. And hard to believe it, but I even began to appreciate hip-hop music, thank you, Cherise, for helping me understand that. 50 million children in the United States, 21% of all children, live in families with incomes below the federal poverty threshold. Poverty is the single greatest threat to children's well-being. We know that individuals who grow up in poor families are much more likely to be poor themselves. Nearly half will grow up to be poor. Given the structural barriers many youth face, especially youth from underserved communities, mentoring does not shift the conditions. That requires our advocacy efforts and our policy change and our work to change norms as well. Mentoring does, however, improve the likelihood of young people being able to successfully navigate such challenges and thrive. Mentoring has an important role to play in upward mobility and helping youth to end the cycle of poverty. Girls from low-income communities, particularly girls of color, face real and profound challenges. You saw those statistics in the video. For me, one of the most upsetting of all is that 1 in 4 girls experiences sexual assault or abuse. The good news is we're starting to talk about that as a country and not in denial. On the positive, investing in women is a well-documented economic development strategy in developing countries and here in the United States, known as the girl effect. Have you heard of that? Some of you have and haven't. But there's just tremendous evidence that if you invest in a girl and a woman's education and her future livelihood, she not only invests in herself, she invests in her family and her community for the enduring benefit of us all. The girl effect really is researched and well known. At Girls Inc., we do inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. We value their whole development, and we help a girl discover and build her inherent strengths, equip her to navigate past gender, economic, and social barriers so that she can grow up healthy, educated, and independent. Girls Inc. delivers the Girls Inc. experience rooted in mentoring and quality mentoring relationships throughout 400 cities, at schools and in centers, with a network of now 83 local organizations. Girls Inc. also works to tackle systemic barriers that affect the conditions in which girls grow up. We like to say, we really believe this deeply, that we're informed by our girls and their families, and that's the foundation upon which we advocate for legislation and policies and norm changes to advance opportunities and rights for all girls. We take a three-pronged approach to creating that change for girls. Of course, we start with the people mentoring trained staff and volunteers who build lasting, high-quality relationships. The environment, girls-only safe space, a sisterhood of support where girls share a drive, high expectations and aspirations, and mutual respect. And we're well known for our research-based programming, which is hands-on, minds-on, age-appropriate, and relevant. As difficult as it is, we are committed to measuring our outcomes, our mission bottom line. Our girls are on a girl tracking system, and once a year we measure how they're doing in our 3 domain areas. Girls and girls make healthy choices. 77% of girls and girls say they are happy with their bodies compared to 46% nationwide. 95% of girls say they care about doing well in school. And 83% in the area of growing up to be independent, 83% do what they believe is right, even if their friends make fun of them. So we're measuring, we're learning from these measurements, we're watching how to change our programming to improve in certain areas at both the affiliate level as well as at the network-wide level. I'm very pleased to say that I am part of the company of Fiscal Hawks, and Girls Inc. is definitely under very strong financial management. That's very, very important to me personally, and I'm very pleased to be able to tell you that the toughest watchdog agencies give us their highest ratings for using donors' funds well, measuring outcomes, having a strong balance sheet, being accountable, and being transparent. Girls Inc. has, we feel, a moral obligation to grow. With an intervention that works so well, where we're getting such great outcomes, how can we not grow? So we've committed to grow. In fact, last year we grew by 8%, serving 156,000 girls. And like the dean said, we have some of the young women with us today. I'd like to ask them to please stand again, and let's thank and recognize the Girls Inc. girls. We have some alumni. We have some Texas Aggie students who are alumni of Girls Inc. also, and a couple of you are here with us. Yes, please stand. Let's acknowledge our scholars. And we also have some staff, Donna and your staff, please stand. Let's acknowledge you. Thank you. And Girls Inc. of Houston, Greater Houston, is led by Ellen Efsek, who's here with us also. Ellen, thank you for joining us today. So please meet one girl. Giselle will tell her story. She's one of the thousands of girls that we serve each year. Giselle.
Hi, my name is Giselle, and I'm the first in my family to graduate high school and go to college. Thank you for helping to make my dream a reality. The impact of your long-term support has been life-changing for girls like me as we navigate our own paths to be strong, smart, and bold. Mine has not been an easy road, though. In the summer of 2013, my family received a letter. As I read it, my heart started racing, and I let the paper fall to my feet. I couldn't believe it. It was an eviction notice. We had only 6 days to fight it. I blamed my father for abandoning us. The anger I had towards him was another internal battle I was fighting. My mom did the best she could as a single parent. But as the oldest child, I basically raised my younger sister. I had to learn to be a mother before a sister. Why was this happening to me? I hated myself and was struggling to keep sane as the world around me came crumbling down. I thought the only ways to deal with my problems was to cause physical harm to myself, from cutting to throwing up my food. Yep, I was that girl. This wasn't a movie, it was my reality. Eventually, I was able to overcome my painful addictions with the help of Girls Inc. and my mentor, Miss Millie. Girls Inc. was a place where I could reveal secrets about myself and not have to worry about being judged. A place where I could discuss my insecurities and the shame I was carrying. Here I learned to advocate for myself when I needed help. That it was okay to not be okay sometimes. And very importantly, I learned that as a woman, I can achieve anything a man can and beyond. Girls Inc. taught me that I can attain anything I set my mind to, that I must always stay true to myself and never compromise my values. I learned to value education and hard work. As a result, I was recently named Mentee of the Year for my Minds Matter program and president of our school's National Honor Society. I will now take the lessons I learned at Girls Inc. and use them to guide me in the next phase of my life. In a few weeks, I will be a freshman at Wesleyan University. I plan to double major in English and neuroscience or chemistry. You can say that I beat the odds. 3 little words have given me the strength I needed to get to where I am today. Strong, smart, and bold.
So I leave you with a call to action, of course. Be a volunteer. Be a mentor. How are we doing here? There we go. Be a mentor. The biggest requirements include a sincere and sincere desire to be included in the life of a young person, giving your time and commitment, providing respect and empathy, active listening skills, flexibility, and willingness to have fun. Mentoring relationships are a shared opportunity for growth. Many mentors say that the rewards they gain are as substantial as those for their mentees. You learn more about ourselves and improve our self-image, our self-esteem. We achieve personal growth and feel we are making a difference. We gain a better understanding of other cultures and great appreciation for diversity. And it helps us enhance our relationships with our own children. Be a philanthropist. Partner to provide access and opportunity. Support organizations financially that make a measurable difference. Serve on a nonprofit board. Be a governor. Advocate for out-of-school time programming that provides the social and emotional supports that are so needed by our young people. Have an impact. Become a mentor. Become a philanthropist. Give your time, talent, and treasure. You have the power to change lives and help advance the American dream, equality of opportunity, equality of conditions for all. Thank you.
This is the Q&A portion, but we bring up Dr. Kenny Taylor, who's a professor of practice at the Bush School of Government and Public Service. So welcome to Kenny Taylor, and he'll help facilitate a conversation with Judy. Thank you.
As you can see, we're getting wired.
I think we're good to go.
We're good to go.
Judy, thank you so much for being here. As was mentioned, we had almost 5 years together at Big Brothers Big Sisters, so when I say it's an honor for you to be here, it really truly is.
Thank you.
In many ways, personally, I feel like you helped guide my career to the point to me being here today. So again, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
At Big Brothers Big Sisters, we had, you had such a keen focus on leadership and what seemed to be such a concern for all of our agencies out there. Who was going to be our leaders of tomorrow? How did we need to develop professionally? Would you share with us what leadership means to you today after such a prestigious career?
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. I think the definition of leadership is enduring, although I am a big believer in situationally relevant leadership, that you assess the situation and you have to have the right leader for the right organization at the right time, or evolve yourself as a leader for the right for the time. But the overarching definition of leadership is influence, being able to influence others to achieve your goals, right? So as a leader, you set out some big goals, and then you're trying to figure out how to influence others to bring their strengths to the organization or to the network, so that you can accomplish those goals. So influence skills is more than using your formal power, using your informal power, using sticks and sometimes, but mostly carrots to try to get change. But I do think that over time, one learns how to let go more, how to delegate, how to have confidence in others and find people who have a lot better talent than you do in certain areas, and figuring out how to build a team of complementarity, of perspectives, of skills, of personalities, and really letting them go empowering others to achieve the goals. So as long as you're aligned in the overarching vision, the overarching mission, the overarching goals, then you let other people help figure out the strategy, make mistakes. Good bosses clean up on their people's mistakes or help them try to prevent those mistakes. Because if you don't try new things, you're never going to achieve something big. So one of the lessons I've learned from the business world is that the people in finance say, if you have 10 investments and 9 fail, but 1 works and works well, and you cut bait on the 9 quickly, you're way ahead. So if you're not failing forward enough, you're actually not taking enough risk, and you're not going to achieve enough in a big way. But I would say that over time, what I've learned is to let go, to delegate, to be clear around the big purpose and big goals, and then surround myself with people who are really good in the particular functions, and give them a chance to figure out the way they think is best to go. I do think that the situation really matters, and when you come into an organization, you try to assess where it is and adapt your leadership to the needs at that time. And while I ran Big Brothers Big Sisters of America for 10.5 years, I think I had 3 different jobs, even though the title was exactly the same. You really change the job as the organization changes. And now at 8 years at Girls Inc., I probably had at least 2 jobs. And I'm just about in my 3rd as the organization's evolving.
Very good. So it was mentioned when Dr. Brown introduced you, your corporate sector career. If you will, would you take us back to that time before you transitioned into March of Dimes? What was the thought? What was going on at that time that inspired public service through nonprofit organizations?
Yeah. To be honest, I had the idea when I was in college, not even in my 20s, that I was going to have a career in business and show that women could achieve at high levels. I'm being very candid with you, I happened to have fallen in love with my husband, who was at Wharton Graduate School when I was an undergraduate. And it was clear that he was not going to care much about having a decent income, a high income. Because he became a professor and he loves being a professor. And he works for the City University of New York, which is not a high paying, it's a public institution. And it's great, and he loves his work. But even when I first met him, I realized, well, I'm interested, and that was actually a good match because he was happy for me to be successful economically. And that was great because he could buy a good bottle of wine, and that was fine. And that was great for me because that allowed me to, and my personality, which is high driving, high achievement, and he loved that. It was fine. He was very supportive of it. But in the end, so I had this vision that I would have a job where I would show that women could lead and manage perhaps a little bit differently. I could make a good income, take care of our family, and then I would have the second career where I would focus full time on my passion for social justice. And I think I was raised, I know that my values were formed from my family, and I guess all of our values are formed by our families and our parents and grandparents. And I have immigrant roots, and my grandparents on both sides became fairly affluent, but they always taught us the idea of, in Judaism, of tzedakah, of giving back and helping others less fortunate. They never forgot their roots, and it really, from a very young age, I knew that at some point I would work full-time on truly mission work. Within the for-profit sector, I tried very hard to bring my values, but in the end, my job was to earn gross margin dollars per square foot invested. That's the measure of performance in retailing. And I was in line management, and I love that. There were great results, and you could get ahead based on those results. So even though I worked to try to treat our customers really well, our employees really well. That kind of mission work was not primary. And so I had the idea that I would do that. I didn't know when I would do it or how I would do it, but I was fortunate to be able to do it. And Dr. Jennifer House, who was running March of Dimes at the time, took a chance on me. I didn't have nonprofit management or leadership experience. The organization at that time was in trouble from a fundraising revenue point of view, not from a mission point of view, and they really wanted some fresh thinking. But I will be honest with you, it was an extremely rocky transition. The culture switch between gross margin dollars per square foot invested, turning inventory every 10, 12, 15 weeks, the speed of decision making, and moving to the March of Dimes where you had all of these legitimate stakeholders, and consensus was really important, and process, and process. How do you ever make any decision? It was like, oh my Lord. And of course the organization was looking at me like, oh my Lord, who is this lady? And we got through it. It took about, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 months, and I was there almost 7 years, and then recruited to lead Big Brothers Big Sisters.
So that said, you just talked up on it, but what's something from your corporate experience that transitioned well into a nonprofit environment?
Yeah, I think that I bring and have brought, and it's increasingly happening in our sector, a very much a performance orientation of measurement, of return on investment, return on talent. Really, we do not in our sector have the discipline of the marketplace. Public companies have to respond to their shareholders, and there is a common measure. We don't have common measurements, and we don't have anything like the discipline of the market to keep us honest. But we do have a lot of competition, and we have a lot of competition for funding. And I think it's really important to be well run and to be able to say to your investors, to your governors, your board, that you're actually making a measurable and lasting difference. Now, the work that we do, it's really hard to make a change in a person's life. It takes time. So how do you measure that? Even though it's difficult to do, it can be done. We did it at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we're doing it also at Girls Inc. So I believe in mission measurement, and I think that I've added to Girls Inc. this idea of collaboration for results as one of our key values. To collaborate, cross boundaries, cross organizations, cross functions, cross hierarchy is the way that you can get some leverage really big results. So I think I've brought a results orientation, a measurement orientation, using data to make decision making, to make decisions, and to use our scarce resources, our people. They're our most important and scarcest resource really, really well.
Board Source is an organization who exists to support excellence in nonprofit governance, build staff, develop staff at nonprofit organizations. And when we were together at Big Brothers Big Sisters, I know we used many of their materials. And today you sit on that board. Just last year, you all produced a study, Leading with Intent, discussing diversity in the nonprofit industry. And as you all pointed out, upwards of 90% of staff, leadership, and boards, both board chairs and complete boards of directors, are about 90% white. That said, I reflected back on my time with you at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we had a very diverse staff. You look at Board Inc.'s board of directors, very diverse. How did you all feel about producing a report or a study like that? And how do you take that into how you lead organizations? And just tell us about the importance, how you advocate for, just anything you'd like to share with us in relation to that.
Yeah, we at Board Source are an umbrella organization for the entire sector as it relates to nonprofit boards. And we are really committed to the subject of diversity, inclusion, and equity. And so we wanted to know the data, of course. I just talked about how important it is to have data. And it was very important but incredibly disturbing, frankly, that we have made no progress in our sector in terms of having diverse boards and inclusive organizations. So the board is the top leadership of an organization. So if you're not leading with intent and setting an example and modeling, how do you expect the rest of the organization to be modeling that or to influence that? Leadership as influence. And so I am very clear, and there's really great data about this too. Catalyst produces that data, that when you have diverse for-profit public company boards, more women on those boards, more women of color on those boards, people of color on those boards, they have higher earnings in the for-profit sector. And so we know that innovation is essential for growth, and innovation means change, it means growth, and there's a direct connection between having diverse voices and being an innovative company. Therefore, being an organization that is going to grow. If you don't innovate, there is no such thing as the status quo over time. You either go forward or you go backwards, just like human beings do. And the same thing is true of organizations. So I know that the diversity is imperative for growth. It's also imperative if in fact those are the people you serve. How are you really going to understand your clients or your business, your customers, if you are not being led by diverse voices? So it's a imperative for the business. I think it's a competitive point. In order to do well, you need to have a diverse leadership and diverse staff. And there was one something I saw from the Cummins company. You know, that's a Fortune 50 company. You ever heard of Cummins Engine? We partner with them. They have selected Girls Inc. as a major partner, and we're just thrilled to. And diversity and inclusion is one of their values. And one of the things that they actually say, and I thought since Kenny told me this question ahead of time, I wrote it down. They say that understanding, genuinely valuing the perspectives and experiences of all people, diverse people, because of their difference, not regardless of their differences, but in fact because of their differences, not regardless of their differences. That they see that as really something to celebrate. Differences as something to celebrate, as something very valuable. So we have a long way to go, Kenny.
Right.
And we need help throughout the sector, and I know that the center is going to help, I'm sure, attract leaders from the whole swath of the United States and the world.
Maybe we can sneak in one quick last question. But in honor of our students here, those that you interacted with in the classroom, and those here tonight, many of them are getting ready to graduate or will soon, looking for jobs. Some have secured. Just some simple hiring tips, things that leaders going into the market, what would you advise them on?
Well, I did have a chance to speak with a few students, and I told them, and I really truly believe this, that the skill match is not as important as the culture match. And what you're really looking for is a match in terms of the values and the norms and the way an organization behaves, and also a personality fit. That you don't want to be in a job that is, if you're very introverted, you don't want to be in a job that it requires you to interact with people all the time, for example. But in the end, as an employer, we're looking for people who are conscientious, highly responsible, hardworking, do whatever it takes to achieve and to get the job done, and to be open to learning along the way. So having the particular skills is not as important as the attitude of an openness to learn, to take direction, to give honest feedback yourself back to the employer, to really be conscientious. I can't emphasize that enough. Be responsible, because the conscientious, responsible, high-achieving people are the ones who get more responsibility, get more significant leadership roles, and the learning can happen on the job. Don't worry about learning the specific skills. If you're willing and able to build relationships, people want to help others. So you can always ask, be comfortable to say you don't know an answer, and ask others for help. But always keep your eye on figuring out how to bring value to your organization and to accomplish.
Again, it's an honor to have you, and thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure, Kenny Taylor.
Thank you all. It is a very great honor for us to have such a distinguished and entertaining speaker, and therefore we have prepared a plaque, and plaques are us. But this is in appreciation of our advocacy and effective leadership on behalf of women and girls. Will Brown, please come to the stage and help me in the level of photo op presenting of the plaque. Thank you all for coming. We invite you to join us again on Thursday evening when the Mosbacher Institute will be sponsoring, together with PERC in the Department of Economics, a talk by John Cogan on the high cost of good intentions, a history of federal entitlement programs. Please do come and join us. And thank you so much for coming and joining us this evening. Goodbye.